Was Odysseus really a hero, or the reason everyone around him died? History remembers him as the smartest man in Greek mythology, the man who beat Troy with a wooden horse, the man who fought for 10 straight years just to get home to his family. What most people leave out is what happened to everyone standing near him along the way. His own mother died waiting for him, while he lingered on an island he didn't need to stay on. One of his men fell to his death, and Odysseus didn't even notice he was gone. And the man who exposed one of his lies didn't just get embarrassed for it. He got executed, on evidence Odysseus made up himself. By the end, you'll wish you didn't know the answer.
For 3,000 years, one story has stuck. Odysseus, the clever king who outsmarted Troy, then fought his way home against gods, monsters, and impossible odds, just to reunite with his wife and son. That's the version carved into statues, taught in classrooms, retold in movies. But there's another version of this story, one that gets far less attention. In that version, the obstacle isn't Poseidon. It isn't the Cyclops or the Sirens. It's Odysseus himself. Look closely at what actually happens around him, and a pattern shows up.
Almost everyone who gets close to him, who trusts him, who follows him, ends up paying for it.
Not because the gods demanded it, not because fate required it, because of choices he made, choices he didn't have to make. So this isn't really the story of a hero surviving a cursed journey home. It's the story of a man who kept surviving, while the people around him kept dying. And by the end, you'll have to decide which one of those stories is actually true.
Start with the first decision he makes on the way home, before storms, before monsters, before any of it. Odysseus sails his fleet to the city of Ismarus and raids it. Not because he had to, because he wanted the plunder. His men win, then get greedy, staying to celebrate instead of leaving. The locals call in reinforcements. 76 of Odysseus's own men die before the cursed journey even really begins. Then comes the island of the Cyclops. Odysseus's men want to grab supplies and go. He says no. He wants to see who lives there, out of curiosity. That curiosity gets several more of his men eaten alive by Polyphemus. Here's the part most people don't know. Odysseus and the rest actually escape. The danger is over. But as they sail away, he can't help himself. He shouts his real name back at the Cyclops, just so he can take credit for the trick that saved them. That single decision is what starts everything that follows. Polyphemus prays to his father, Poseidon, and Poseidon spends the next 10 years making sure Odysseus never gets home easily. From here, the deaths come faster. The Laestrygonians, giant cannibals, crush and eat an entire fleet of his ships, sparing only the one Odysseus is on. Scylla, a 6-headed monster, snatches 6 more of his men, 1 in each mouth, while he watches and does nothing to stop it. By the time his men finally reach the island of the sun god's cattle, they're starving, exhausted, and desperate. Odysseus warns them not to touch the cattle. Then he falls asleep, and they eat anyway. Zeus responds with a storm that kills every last one of them. Every single man who left Troy with Odysseus is now dead. Every one. And it's not just the men following him. Back home, his own mother, Anticlea, dies of grief, waiting for a son who keeps choosing detours over urgency. He finds out only when he meets her ghost in the underworld, and even then his reaction is brief. One of his own crewmen, Elpenor, gets drunk, falls asleep on a rooftop, and dies falling off it. Odysseus is so focused on his own plans that he doesn't even realize the man is missing until he sees his ghost too. At this point, it would be easy to say he's just unlucky, cursed, a man the gods decided to punish. But what's coming next isn't about bad luck at all. The truth is, this pattern didn't start on the journey home. It started years earlier. Odysseus didn't want to fight in the Trojan War at all. He had a wife, a newborn son, a kingdom to run. So when the Greeks came to recruit him, he faked insanity, plowing his fields with salt instead of seed, hoping they'd write him off and leave. One man wasn't convinced. Palamedes, another Greek commander, tested him. He placed Odysseus's infant son, Telemachus, directly in the plow's path. Odysseus swerved to avoid killing his own child, and in doing so, proved he wasn't insane at all. His secret was exposed, and he was forced to go to war. You'd think that would just be an embarrassing footnote. It isn't. According to several ancient accounts, Odysseus never let it go. Years later, during the war, he got his revenge. He forged a letter, made to look like it came from the enemy king, Priam, addressed to Palamedes. Then he planted gold in Palamedes' tent to match it, staged evidence of treason against his own side. Palamedes was accused of selling out the Greek army. He denied it. It didn't matter. He was stoned to death by his own men on evidence that Odysseus manufactured himself. This is where the story stops looking like bad luck, or curses, or the will of the gods. A crewman falling off a roof unnoticed, that's carelessness. A mother dying of grief while you take detours, that's neglect. But forging evidence to have a man executed, a man whose only crime was being right about you, that's something else entirely. That's not a man the gods turned against. That's a man capable of quiet, calculated cruelty when it serves him. Eventually alone, having lost every man who sailed with him, Odysseus makes it back to Ithaca. His wife, Penelope, is still there. She held off over 100 suitors for years, refusing to remarry, using tricks of her own to buy time. His son, Telemachus, is grown now, old enough to fight beside him. His father, Laertes, is still alive too, though aged and worn down by waiting. On paper, this is the happy ending. The family survives, the hero returns. But look at how he handles it. Guided by Athena, he disguises himself as an old beggar before revealing himself to anyone, even the people who've waited decades for him. After 20 years away, he doesn't know who's stayed loyal and who hasn't. And a warning still lingers in the back of his mind. Another returning king he met in the underworld was killed by his own wife the moment he came home. So instead of announcing himself, Odysseus watches, tests loyalty, and plans. When he finally reveals himself, he doesn't simply reclaim his home. He and Telemachus kill every one of the suitors in his hall, over 100 men, in a single, brutal night. Then it goes further. A group of household maids, women who'd been intimate with the suitors during his absence, are rounded up. Odysseus has them hanged. Not a quick death, a slow one, deliberately drawn out. By any measure, this is justice for a wronged king. It's also the same man we've been watching the entire video, calculating, controlled, willing to let punishment go further than it needs to. So maybe the family survives because they're simply the only ones patient, or careful, enough to still be standing when he finally comes home. Everyone else, the crew, the mother, the ally, didn't have that luxury. Which leaves one question still standing. So, was he a hero, or the reason everyone around him died? The honest answer is both. And that's exactly the problem. He was brave enough to blind a cyclops, clever enough to survive gods actively working against him, patient enough to wait years for the right moment to reclaim his home. None of that is fiction. None of that is exaggerated. But bravery was never his weakness. The Greeks actually had a word for what was. Hubris, dangerous, excessive pride. the kind that makes a man shout his own name to a blinded monster just so he gets the credit. Every death in this story traces back to that same root. Not a curse, not fate. A man who couldn't resist raiding one more city, couldn't resist exploring one more island, couldn't resist reminding the world exactly how clever he was. He got remembered as a hero because he was the one who survived to tell the story. Everyone who could have told it differently never made it home. Maybe that's the real lesson here. The Greeks warned about hubris in nearly every one of their myths. Odysseus lived it and still got called a hero for it.